B, what you was thinking when Tank did that when he took the knee? What you was thinking when he took the knee?
I can't speak on that.
Can't think on that?
Can't speak.
He did some bullshit though?
I can't speak.
You have no personal opinion, nothing?
Yeah.
No, you gotta calm down. Listen to me.
Hey, come on now. We're trying to get it. Come on now. We're trying to get.
There was no question in the boxing community that trouble was imminent after recordings of the conversation between Dan Davis and his corner were leaked. However, there weren't enough audio recordings of Davis and the referees before they were made public, and this was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Initially, it was the primary factor that made Lamont Roach appealing.
Steve said, fight out of the clinch. Yeah. That's what we were going to do. He came in the back and was like, I'm going to let you fight out, especially if one arm is loose or whatever the case may be, as long as you...
Unfortunately, the newly appointed State Athletic Commission chose to minimize his efforts and disregarded the tape, which ultimately led to even more contentious responses from the boxing community.
10-8. Simple. So I was like, all right, the ref started counting. When I'm looking at him, I'm like, the ref started counting. But I see him get up and go to the corner. So
referee Steve Willis's poor handling of Lamont Roach Jr.'s Saturday night knockdown of Gervonta Davis is still being investigated by the New York State Athletic Commission. After a heated panel discussion on Pro Box TV, Dan Raphael, a seasoned boxing writer on America's Top Fighter, a lot of things went wrong, and it was all against Lamont Roach. Speaking on his podcast with the show's host Teddy Atlas, Atlas offered his honest thoughts on the refereeing.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible. I am, but I'm ashamed of myself. I am so cynical, but this sport has made me cynical. I'm sorry. I don't see anyone's going to make...
Since he would never have done the same for Roach's terrible referees, he implied that the ref waste was good enough and could have been bought off. We require better referees. Whatever you want to call them, more knowledgeable and skilled referees. We definitely need better referees who know how to make a decision, know they're making the right call, and have the courage to do it. I don't think that referee would have allowed Roach to get away with what he let Tank Davis get away with, which is why Tank is a star. I won't say honest because I'm not sure if honesty was the problem.
It's going to reprimand this referee. What are they going to do? I mean, it happens too often. It's happened too often. I don't know. We need a national commission. That's the only thing I can think of, but we're not getting...
He continued.
Yet he went on, tell me if I'm mistaken, but I think he set a record for the most fans in Barclays Center. They may have also set a gate record, and they've held basketball games, fights, and concerts there. Large quantities. He is well known, attracts a large following, and generates good pay-per-view figures. Although I'm not sure of the exact stats, he's one of those individuals that regularly generates respectable pay-per-view numbers.
Right now, but the last thing I want to say to put a bow on this one, Bud, we talked about the controversial part, but I want to finish.
But the final thing I want to say to Button to put a bow on this one, buddy, is that when a referee lets him take a knee, which isn't allowed in boxing, and get away with it, he got hit with a jab right before that. I'm not trying to criticize Tank Davis because people have already said that I defend him too much or hype him up, and he's a great fighter, a puncher inside and out, defensively responsible with fast hands. He puts punches together, goes to the body, can counterpunch, set traps, and so on. But he was wrong here and got away with it because the sport led him.
The great part. That was high-level boxing. That was two guys at the highest level showing their skills.
Teddy Atlas also added that a referee cannot allow something that isn't covered in the rule book to happen. Tank is hit with a jab, and a second or two later, he takes a knee. Guess what? I'm sorry, that's a knockdown. If your knee goes down at that moment, it's a knockdown. This isn't football, and there are no fair catches as you mentioned last night. Even Terrence Crawford, one of the top 3 pound-for-pound fighters, follows the rules for a reason. USI and Eno publicly stated, I was unaware that was a regulation. He didn't say anything, but perhaps he was out doing road construction or something else. He must have been busy when that rule, which isn't a rule, came up, because I mentioned earlier that this isn't the Indianapolis 500. I suppose I was asleep when they passed that one. There is no pit row in the boxing tank, so you can't go in because you need to change your oil, replace your tires, or wipe the grease out of your eyes. As the proverb goes, defend yourself at all times. He would have been justified in attacking, so give him credit or even suggest that he should have pursued him.
Make a guy miss and you counter, and then all of a sudden you're in front of him. Boop! You're the invisible man. You're on the. That's sweet science too. Yes, and it's easier to see. It grabs your attention. Oh wow! Look at that guy. He's on the outside.
Outside, I've witnessed fighters strike men as they turn or walk away, and the referee doesn't stop it unless the bell rings or he interrupts. He was a gentleman and a good sportsman, so I give him credit. But when Tank turned, Roach could have hit him with a left hook or whatever. He's a southpaw, so maybe a straight left, but he had the right to pursue and throw, and he might have caught him and knocked him down as he was turning. It wouldn't have been the most pleasant sight, but if the referee allowed him to take a knee, he would have gone to his corner to have whatever was obstructing his vision removed, and then resumed his work. If the referee scores that 108 rounds, which it technically should have been, then even though I know he wasn't hurt, Roach doesn't receive a draw. He wins the title. In the middle of the boiler with all the flames and everything going on, many people with a plus 900 ticket are feeling pretty good right now. He concluded by saying that he bullied the bully, and he did. It's like in the schoolyard. You see the bully getting his way all the time, and one day a guy stands up to him, and all of a sudden the bully is not acting the same, not as aggressive. It's funny, when we were talking in the 12th round, I believe, or the 11th, and he said, "You're not going to win." My cousin had a saying that goes like this: when you rely a little on using to call the voluntary knee taken by Davis in round 9 exactly what it was, a knockdown, and Roach, a former amateur rival of Davis, deserved to be the main story after handing Tank a minus 1,600 betting favorite, the first setback of his professional career in their contentious majority draw inside Barclays Center. Speaking to regulators nationwide on Wednesday, they said that New York Commission head Matthew Dalio is in a difficult situation trying to resolve the human error that saw Willis start and then stop his 8 count of Davis after receiving multiple punches from Roach, which caused Davis to take a knee and then walk to his corner where co-trainer Calvin Ford was there to meet him and wipe his face with a towel. The fallout cost both a 10-8-point swing that would have swung the decision in his favor and several millions of dollars that could have come from Roach entering their inevitable rematch as the defending champion. While some believed Dalio should dock Davis a point for any of his infractions and assign Roach a point, Davis later clarified that he was just seeking relief after feeling a hair chemical sting in his eye. It's unfair to Davis, a knockout puncher who might have adopted a more desperate offensive mindset in the final 3 rounds had he known he had been docked with a knockdown that wasn't in round number 9, when the new World Boxing Association lightweight champion took a knee, landed a right hand, and then took 2 jabs. What were you thinking at the time? And were you as surprised as everyone else? Man, what were you thinking about? Man, I was taken aback. Since the panel included retired California referee and Jack Rice trainer Stephen Bradman, I won't lie and say that I felt it was a 108. Pro Box TV regulars Chris Algerai and Paulie Malong-Nagy agreed with Edwards Raffheel that Roach's bent knee qualified as a knockout. Gary Jonas, the founder of Pro Box TV, who advises Roach, submitted a formal letter of appeal to the New York Commission, requesting that it find in favor of Roach. The winner determined by the various opportunities. Willis had to dock Davis a point for the knockdown after he turned away from Roach, went to his corner, and Ford came up the stairs to tend to him in the middle of the round. Edwards gave a telling people make blunders, but this always works in the aside's favor. I'm looking at him and thinking. The rest of the fight started counting. But then I see him get up and go to the corner, so I'm just like, all right, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. Edwards said. Steve Willis has an excellent career. This moment just shocked him. Rice attempted to clarify that authorities, as the only arbiter of the battle, have choice over how it goes. You cannot call your own time out, Malignaggi said. Raphael also reported that Algeria and Malignaggi had the opportunity to review the replay of the knockdown, but it didn't happen. This led Algeria and Nagy to conclude that there was only one effective way to respond, and that was to stage a rematch immediately at the Barley Center in Brooklyn. I didn't think he was stopping a fight, but then again, when I look at him in the corner, I'm like, what's going on? I don't know now. I just don't know what's going on. In addition, the New York State Athletic most surprising thing. Roach looked like the bigger fighter after bulking up to lightweight and relied upon the confidence and experience he drew from growing up in the same boxing circles as Davis to author the most impressive performance of his career. It's sad to say, that's how boxing work. I'm not totally upset. I figured with a superstar, the biggest set of questions surrounded Davis's mindset and the repeated bizarre behavior he showed before, during, and after the fight, which has begged the question as to whether this was simply an off night for one of the sport's pound-for-pound best, or has Davis lost the competitive fire and killer mindset that made him such a wildly popular draw at the box office. Star boxers being late for media events is far from a new thing, especially for Davis, who was nearly 2 hours late for the 2023 kickoff press conference against Ryan Garcia. In December, however, Davis took tardiness to a whole new level when he unapologetically arrived nearly 5 hours after the start of his first event with Roach in New York, and followed it up by being 90 minutes late to last Friday's weigh-in. Davis was largely playful and loose during fight week, which is his norm, but his behavior during the fight turned alarming when he twice took his eyes off of Roach to argue with Willis during the first half, only to eat clean punches in return. You won't get too much on paper, but I had it. Especially when they revealed the score for him. I thought, oh, they're going to give me a Prime Video.